Hello everyone, Storm11 here. Today we'll be taking a look into having a little bit of an update on the severe weather threat that will be going on today into tomorrow. We're also going to be taking a look into the forecast for the snow and ice that will be going on across portions of the Southern Plains. Generally speaking, portions of Texas, Oklahoma, eventually getting into portions of Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, maybe into portions of Wisconsin and Iowa. And there may be a chance that we could see some more ice or snow across portions of the Northeast there as well. Although we'll be pretty briefly be talking about this as we're still a little ways out from that. So let's go ahead and get started with the National Weather Service Watch and Warning Advisory display. So this is right now, and your pink areas right in here, these are winter storm warnings here. Portions of Texas could see at least a foot of snow, which you don't see that happen that often, especially when your average is only a couple inches of snow. That's just something you don't really see that often. You also got winter storm warnings for portions of Oklahoma, but you're getting into portions of Missouri to Illinois. We got winter storm watches in effect for portions of Illinois and also into portions of Pennsylvania there as well. And then your purple areas here, these are winter weather advisories, which could either be for minor accumulations, for a little bit of ice, maybe a inch or two of snow, or you could say slick road conditions there as well. So that's basically what these are issued for. Meanwhile, we got flash flood watches in effect for eastern Texas, northwestern Louisiana, vegging into central and southern Arkansas, even for southeastern Oklahoma as well. And then portions of southeastern Texas here, we have a tornado watch in effect there, where we have some where the atmosphere is favorable for maybe at least for a couple isolated tornadoes in that region. There's one, and that's just only the beginning of what could be happening later today there as well. So let's go through this. So this is the HER model, and as you can see here, get this pen out right here. You got bands of moderate to heavy snow going on across portions of Texas here as well, with a mix in with freezing rain and sleet. Eventually, that's going to be going through Oklahoma later today. Eventually, getting to Kansas, and then look at Missouri. That is freezing rain right there, folks. This is all freezing rain right there, and that's not really good news at all. You can see at times possibly moderate to heavy freezing rain, so those ice accumulations could come up a little bit quickly there. Although it may take some time for it to actually accumulate because those ground temperatures will be a little bit warm there as well. And you can see it does continue to the north, and eventually some of these areas do transition over to rain, which is the good news there. But for some areas, not so much. They can actually stay in freeze rain the entire time, and we could possibly see an ice storm out of this here as well. And meanwhile, you got bands of heavy snow across portions of Oklahoma, eventually getting to Kansas, and that being eventually getting to northern Illinois, southern Wisconsin there as well, and maybe even to portions of Michigan there as well later down the road. So let's take a look at two freezing rain accumulations. Obviously, these numbers are going to be overdone, and as you can see here, got quite a bit of ice going on areas. What the HER model is predicting is ice accumulations up to an inch of ice. But keep in mind, some of these regions will be transitioning over to rain, so this won't be lasting for not that long, at least. But for some areas, it could be stick around near the entire event. And right now, the forecast for ice, which is right here by the National Weather Service offices, what's considered a ice storm is really over a quarter of inch of ice, if I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. But as you can see here, you got a quarter plus inch of ice when you get to these more purplish colors in here, and that's a 1/4 inch plus of ice, which in those same areas there are winter storm warnings in effect there. Ending on top of that, you could see a little bit of snow ending on top of that ice as well, so there could be some major issues across portions of Missouri. Now, this is only for the next 24 hours, does not go throughout the entire event. Don't be surprised that some of these numbers could expand into portions of Illinois there as well. So this is just only 24 hours there as well. And then you also got a decent amount of ice could be ongoing across of west central Oklahoma there as well. I mean, to really at 1/10 of an inch of ice, you do start to get some issues there as well. 1/4 inch of ice, that's where you kind of get to the significant status, and that's where you start to get power outage issues. Trees could come down there as well, especially for those weak branches there as well. So this is definitely something we'll be watching very closely, and also don't forget the roads will be slick there as well. Let's talk about the snow here, and this is for the next 4 to 8 hours. And as you can see here, we got a pretty good swath of, really generally speaking, 2 to maybe 4, close to 5 inches of snow going on across portions, well, western Oklahoma, eventually getting into east central Kansas, northern Missouri, southeastern Iowa, which some of these areas got a lot of snow on the last event, and you're going to be adding these snowfall totals on top of that there as well, which will add up the snow depth. And then eventually getting into portions of northern Illinois there as well. And if we move our selector view here, let's move to the south central United States here. Now this is what's left here. I think the other day the National Weather Service offices were predicting at least a foot of snow across these regions. Now, we still got snow ongoing as of right now, which I don't know how much snow they got right now, but we can still see at least 4 to 6 inches of snow across southwest central Texas there as well. And eventually, another bullseye could pop up across western Oklahoma there as well. And you guys may be asking, what are these weird cutoffs? Well, these are like the borders for National Weather Service offices. This is where you kind of have your agreement and disagreements here as well. So that's why it kind of looks a little bit odd as in these places as well. But eventually, they will start to agree pretty soon. And also, some of these are just updated. They're not updated all on time. So that's just, I'm sure some people will be asking questions about that. So that's what that's all about there as well. And just for fun, let's take a look for those wind gusts, max wind gusts. You can see here, could be windy, for sure, especially on the wintry side of things. Could be anywhere from 30 to 40 mile an hour wind gusts. And you're heading on top into some ice as well. So definitely some pretty rough conditions, really, where you have moderate ice adding on top of those 35, 40 mile an hour wind gusts. Yeah, it'll be a little bit rough out there as well. So that's quite interesting there as well. So that's the pretty well. We'll very quickly try to take a look at to the Northeast United States because really I won't be making a video tomorrow and Saturday. Be going on for a pretty short vacation. If I have enough time on Sunday, I'll try to make another video, which will be my January 2021 forecast. Or it could be Monday. That's actually when I go back to virtual learning for school. So we'll see about that. So this is the NAM nest, and where we have those winter storm watches in effect. Let me get a different color. When these purple colors are freezing rain, and there could be a decent amount of ice could try to go on across the interior northeast. So this will be an issue here across some of these regions here. But eventually, some of these folks here can see a pretty decent band of snow, especially when you get into portions of Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire. But still, portions of New York State, New Hampshire, Vermont, maybe into portions of Massachusetts, will still be ongoing with that some of that freezing rain there as well. And this is the ice accumulations for the high-risk dam, but again, it's overdone. It's not a really good measurement of ice. Let me get this thing out of the way, if I can. There we go. And as you can see here, the NAMNS is pushing out widespread 2/10 plus of inch of ice. That's not accurate, although there could be isolated areas that could get up to 2/10 of an inch of ice, maybe up to a quarter of an inch. We'll see about that. The better chance to see a decent amount of ice would be maybe across central Pennsylvania, maybe getting to portions of New York State there as well. Better chance of snow is when you get to portions of New York State, portions of New Hampshire, Vermont, and also into Maine there as well. So, although if you guys in these regions, definitely watch out for those threats there as well. Although things could change some more before we get to the event. All right, so last thing before we end the video, let's talk about the severe weather threat. We have an enhanced risk of severe weather across southeastern Texas, central Louisiana into portions of Mississippi. We only got slight risk expanding into portions of the Florida Panhandle and also western, well, southwest central Alabama there as well. Now, tornado threat will be there. That's what's leading to the enhanced risk. That's a 10% chance. I don't really expect us to really see strong tornadoes with this setup here. Although, we'll take a look to the latest models to see about that. There's a couple limiting factors with this event here that could lead to that. So tornadoes will be one of your primary threats. Damage and winds, that'd be a definite yes. There could also be perhaps a little bit of large hail out there as well. Venturing into tomorrow, which is Friday, we've got a pretty decent marginal risk area stretching from anywhere from the Florida Panhandle into South Carolina and as far north as western Kentucky there as well. Now, the primary threat, there is a slight tornado threat, but it's pretty low. But damage winds should be your primary threat. Don't really expect large hail out of it there as well. If we're going to see a slight risk upgrade, watch this region right in here. It's really going to depend on that QL or that line of storms, if a line of storms do form there. And watch, I'll show you guys the future radar from the HER model in a moment. So this is the SPC Mesoanalysis. So this is right now. You got tornado watch again for southeastern Texas there. If we look to surface base Cape here, now we're already having some decent numbers out there. You can see here we do have some areas that's up to 1,000. There's 500 there. There's actually 1,500 across southeastern Louisiana there, which is a little bit concerning there. Which I'm afraid that some of the malls are actually underdoing these Cape values, which may be a little bit concerned there across some of these regions here. But areas in here, it's 500, and we do expect this instability to do increase throughout the day here as well, and maybe expand a little bit more into coverage here. But areas in here will be areas to watch as of right now, where you'll have some decent Cape values there as well. And keep in mind, that's only at the surface there as well. Some of these will get into the mid levels later in the day. See, this is a 100 millibar mixed layer Cape. You can see here, there's not a lot. I mean, 500 is favorable for some severe weather, which it is across pretty much generally southern Louisiana to southeastern Texas there as well. And those low level lap rates, which can help a little bit for tornadoes to try to form. And generally 7 and above, those numbers there will be favorable for some severe weather. And you can see here, we do have some decent numbers out here, but we probably do expect this to decrease overnight here. You can see here, it's far away from actually the main action, which is going on out here, which there are some very low numbers. So tornadoes may actually have a hard time trying to form with these low numbers with the low level lap rates. And that's one of the limiting factors to this event here as well as those low-level lap rates. And that's why we don't really have a hatched area, although we cannot rule out a strong tornado out of this, but it just seems a very low chance as of right now. Bulk shear to wind shear, yeah, we got a lot of it out there. Generally, really above 35 knots, it would be favorable for some severe weather. Even 40 knots, you can see here, numbers are all over the place, but either way, it's favorable for some severe weather. We'll definitely have some decently high numbers out there today. This is the supercell composite. This is a combination of instability and wind shear. You can see here we got numbers. Let me change color here. We got numbers as high as a 4 across southern Louisiana here, which keep in mind, this means it's favorable for supercells. Higher the numbers, the more favorable environment is for supercells. And you can see here across southern Louisiana is looking to be a favorable environment for some supercells there as well. And this is the significant tornado parameters. You see our pretty low numbers right now, as high as a 0.5. So still some low numbers. Violent tornado parameter. And you can see here pretty low numbers again there as well. So right now the tornado threat's not that high as of right now, although we do expect it to probably increase as we kind of go throughout the day here. And this is the effective layer. Generally above a 1, you kind of have a tornado threat, which we are starting to see some of these numbers go up across southern Louisiana. So areas that need to watch for severe weather at this point, if any supercells do form, will be across southern Louisiana right now. But we do expect this to kind of expand in coverage. And maybe we'll get some higher numbers later today. So let's look at the HER model here. So this is 17Z here. We'll probably go back to 12Z, so we will have more hours on it. So as you can see here, now this is going to be an issue here for severe weather. We got these showers, maybe some thunderstorms going on across portions of Louisiana here. Some of these could become supercells. So you can see here we do have some heavier thunderstorms here, and those could potentially become supercells there as well. And that'll be the storms to watch there as well for the tornado threat. You can see there, and here comes your frontier. Here comes your line of thunderstorms here, and these storms will bring in the threat for damaging winds there as well. So here comes your front right here. You got some pretty decent thunderstorms offshore there. But you can see here, watch some of these thunderstorms here. These are the ones that we had to keep an eye on for if they start to rotate or anything like that there as well. Yeah, as we kind of continue throughout the night, the thunderstorms increase the coverage, but these storms right in here, or showers, these are, not really supercells. These are pretty much like widespread showers here. What's also interesting here is your cold front with those storms along it is starting to fall apart. Although it does still show some decent thunderstorms across northern Louisiana there as well. But look at these storms right here. These will be the storms to gotta pay attention to, especially for ones like these here. Especially that one there, it has a hook type of look there. Those will be the storms to watch. And those could become supercells. And eventually, you'll have some storms that will probably start to move this way, and some storms will start to move a little bit more this way. There's well to the northeast. And this is kind of going throughout the night, and Alabama kind of starts to light up a little bit. Here's your frontier. Not really favorable for severe weather at this point here. You actually do have a dry slot here, but the conditions are not really that favorable. Although you do have a pretty good cluster of thunderstorms going across southern Alabama to portions of the Florida Panhandle there as well. We'll watch for those storms. And we're going to watch these storms right here as well to see if they do rotate there as well. And maybe for those there as well. So really at this point, most of Louisiana, their threat is over. Even across a good chunk of Mississippi, their threat is over with. at this point. Now, keep in mind, this is just future radar. This is just one model. As you can see here, Thundersource Bay really started to get going, indicated by the HER model, really across northern Mississippi into portions of Tennessee, Alabama. Got some pretty good thunderstorms there. Some of those could start to rotate there as well. Here's the max on the hours. You can see we could see some discrete cells as far north as Tennessee there as well. And we'll see we do a different model here with this. So we'll see what the Hyrus and AM says about this setup here, if it's going to load here, which this site here has a hard time loading in. There we go. So as you can see here, and this is getting into Friday night here, not really that impressive here. I mean, you do have a decent area of thunderstorms across, pretty much along the coast right across portions of Louisiana. Gotta pay attention to these storms right here. Those will be the storms to watch there as well. As we kind of continue on here, and it's kind of a little bit messy here of a setup here. You got widespread showers, not really much of the way of thunderstorms here. And this is kind of turning into a more stable environment here as well. And this is just making it not favorable for severe weather. So that'd be some good news there. And it seems like there's a pretty good agreement with that. Pretty decent agreement at least. That the severe weather threat will really die down into Friday morning or late Friday night there as well. So we'll be watching that. Also, we're going to have to pay attention to this as well. Not for severe weather, but maybe the chance for snow on the north side, which is off the screen here. There as well. So this will definitely be something to pay attention to. Areas that we'll have to watch for severe weather will be the areas in here. Those would really be the areas to pay attention to. I was actually almost forgot here. This is also another limiting factor here. This kind of gives us an idea about these storms here. So this is updraft helicity swaths here as well. We'll go back to 17Z here. And really, this kind of gives an indication for like rotating thunderstorms here in general. You can see here, we don't really have high numbers here. But you can see here, we have a decent amount of swaths going on across southeastern Texas where we had that tornado watch. Even across western Louisiana. Looking across portions of Louisiana here, not that much away of updraft helicity swaths, but you have a decent amount across a good chunk of Mississippi here, and you got a pretty good line right here. And if that's correct, there could be a family of tornadoes or water spouts. There's well, this is where that strong tornado threat, when in my opinion, kind of comes in here. If we do see helicity swaths, get into the yellows and stuff, that kind of gives a chance for maybe perhaps a strong tornado. But in general, most of these here swaths are not really like violent tornado looks. Most of these are just, if any tornado develops, most of these would be weak tornadoes. When we're talking about EF0, EF1s, not that bad, although we cannot rule out perhaps an EF2 tornado, or that's what we consider a strong tornado, like this for example here. But this is not guaranteed here. This is just a simulation by one of computer models there as well. And that's why we kind of have a limited factor here. Although the storm and relative helicity will be decently high across some of these regions here as well. So just to keep in mind that the further south you go, the lower the numbers are going to be, but the farther north you get, higher than those numbers would be. And really in between, with the instability, the highest amounts of instability will be across the south here as well, which we'll take a look into the surface-based HAPE here, which is about on point at this point here. Yeah, it's about on point. And you can see here, even going to the overnight hours, there can still be a decent amount of surface-based HAPE here, but when we look into, future radar, there's not really a whole lot of activity going on. Most of these are showers, stuff like that. But even showers could rotate there as well. We've seen some of that stuff happen before, where showers could form mesocyclones. I believe that happened yesterday. I cannot remember, but it has happened a few times before. But either way, there's a severe weather threat. We're generally speaking across these regions here as well, and these will be the areas to pay attention to there as well, especially when we get to the overnight hours. But anyways, guys, this is Orc for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, hit the like button. If you really do like my channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, you can put in the comment section down below. I'll answer you guys' questions. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.